The views and opinions expressed by the participants of this broadcast are their own and not necessarily shared by the sponsors, organizations, or individuals mentioned in this broadcast. It will contain topics and language unsuitable for younger listeners and probably some technical difficulties. Parental discretion is advised. Hello, everybody. We're going to do this right now.
We're doing this live.
We're experiencing some technical difficulties. I think I shared the link with you, Ben. If you could let Jamie and them know.
Yeah.
If you could check YouTube and make sure that we're on the air on YouTube as well.
All right. I can start looking, everybody. How's everybody doing?
We have audio. We have no music. But I have no idea why suddenly
it's the feds.
We're playing our music. Well, we have a very old computer. Okay, we're good. All right, sweet. As always,
very old computer.
With every episode that we do, there's some sort of technical difficulty that we have. Either Ben's camera's glitching or the music's going out or something like that. So we're going to do things a little bit different.
It wouldn't be our show if there wasn't a technical difficulty of some kind.
It's true.
Yeah.
We are currently on. Hold on one second. Forgot to do that as well.
Oh, geez. Now we're just messing up the balance of the light and everything.
No, balance now great. We look fantastic now. You need to scoot a little bit to your right, but no, the other way. There you go. But we normally something goes wrong every episode. This is the thing that's going wrong today. Is that suddenly during our countdown, our music just cut off for no reason. Desktop audio not working. I'm sure I could do something where, like, if there was an error message or something where it does a little
noise. It just stops working. Yeah, that
would probably work. But I'm going to mute desktop audio just in case. Your other right, exactly. Now the microphones audio will probably cut out with the microphones while we're talking because that's how it happens. But
so if anybody's there, could you please? Thank you, Jamie.
Very appropriate that we're doing what we're doing today, that we're talking about what we're talking about. And I had just mentioned to Ben that we're probably going to make this one a short episode, 1 hour rather than our normal 2 hours, because I have to work tomorrow.
We're both tired, that's why.
And I'm super tired. Yeah, Ben has been out working, and I am like emotionally drained as well, just because of the bunch of stuff has been going on with me. So we'll just get right into it. It is 7:12 p.m. It is Wednesday, June 29th, 2022.
Can you hear us? Are we good? Is our level all right?
We sound all right to me. We look all right, according to the
we can only look so good with these Logitech cameras that we have.
No, this looks fantastic.
They don't have magic in them to make us...
I've seen the playbacks, and they look fantastic. So it's just a matter of...
For a certain amount of money, I hear we can get plugins that'll make us look very handsome.
With all the other things going on right now, money is super tight for me. But I've been working. I have to work tomorrow morning. I've been working Thursday, Friday. Let me do the top it off. It is Wednesday. I am Matt. That has been. You are watching 3231. This is Nomad Radio. I have been adding another day onto my normal work schedule, where instead of working Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm working Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I haven't been doing too bad. As far as handling an extra day of the week, my schedule's it's been giving me a little anxiety with the schedule change, because I like things to be a certain way. When things change, I tend to get a little nervous about it.
That's pretty constant for most people.
Not liking change, sure.
Yeah.
And on top of that, money's been super tight, so I've been waiting for the money to come in. We've been having some problems right now because, as everybody knows, the world is going crazy, and that's what prompted me to declare this episode to be a very special episode where, just like you can tell by the title, we're talking about love today because the world is going crazy. Keeps buffering, but it may be me. Okay, that's no problem. We look all right here as far as our signal is concerned. So if it's buffering, it may just be your connection. If anyone else, we have TikTok going right now. We have a chat in TikTok. If anyone else is watching on TikTok that would like to join us on YouTube, you as well could join our live chat that we have going on there. And feel free to throw some feedback at us about how the signal is and everything. We appreciate folks for dropping by and joining the conversation. But yeah, so things are going on. The world's going crazy. We have staff shortages because people are getting fed up. People are getting stressed out about everything now. It's the end of the pandemic, but we're still having problems because gas prices are high, and everybody, for their own personal reasons, are like, it seems very stressful in the world lately. And just look out the window, turn on the news. You'll see a whole bunch of reasons why people are going crazy.
No, I'm here to declare no.
Yeah, pass. Exactly.
I'm not going to do that I'm just not going to do that anymore. Yeah, I'm almost 100% made up that I'm going off grid, and I'm just going to stop.
Yeah. Well, I've always enjoyed the idea of, rather than people have said, have made jokes saying that, Matt, you need to run for president, or you need to something along that same line. I'm like, no, I don't want to be a part of this reality at all. Thank you very much. I'm ready to go into the Matrix. Thank you very much. I'm ready for the virtual world. I'll check out. I'll go to that one. But one of the issues that we're having in my life is that the place that I work at, some people, going back a little bit further, towards the end of last year, vaccinations were really being stressed, and I was on the fence about getting a vaccination. I wasn't sure about getting it, but one of the things through work, they had a memo that went to all the employees of the place where I work that said that what they wanted to do was encourage vaccinations, and that they wanted the place that we work for to be a vaccinated workplace for the sake of the employees, for the sake of the customers, to relieve people and let them know that it's a safe place to be. So you sound fine on YouTube and great signal. Thank you. Drop down to 240 and quit my game. Still buffering on my end. Anyone else in chat? No, of course, according to Jason Blackburn, he said you sound fine on YouTube and great signal. I appreciate that. Thank you, Jason. So I ended up getting the vaccination, and I'm glad that I did in hindsight, because I ended up getting COVID, and I didn't suffer through it as much as I thought I would. So grateful for that. Also, I guess grateful in a way that I wasn't aware that my body was that weak, because due to the vaccination and getting, and having to go through that whole thing, my body was stressed out to the point that I had a heart attack. And I didn't realize that my body was in that state. That's so close to that something, stressing my body out would put my body to that. So I'm still alive. It was a
you probably would have had that heart attack anyways, though, if you think about it.
Maybe later on down the road, sure. I mean, but considering that,
but you're going to be 50. I mean, your old man didn't make it much past 50,
no,
right?
Like 30, like 53, 54, something like that.
Exactly. Yeah, he didn't have COVID.
I'll be AFK. Someone is picking up some furniture from us. All right, no problem.
No, Jamie.
Everybody was kind of up in arms. The fact that they're being forced into. I mean, it's like, you don't have to get vaccinated, but if you'd like to remain an employee at our company, we would encourage that. And so I'm like, okay, I went ahead and got the vaccination. They ended up 2 months later, like giving a deadline of like December something, and then December something comes along, and people just quit rather than getting vaccinated. And so because of that, I feel like the company kind of pivoted and said, well, we're not going to let anybody go, but we're just going to institute that, please wear a mask, and if you're not going to get vaccinated and all that stuff. But it started a chain of things where people were, what do they call it? The Great Resignation, the Great, the staff exodus or work exodus sort of a thing. It started at our workplace, at our franchise, at the multiple stores that we work at. Employees just started to quit, getting fed up with it. And when people leave a place of work, we had like probably, I want to say 8 stores in Knoxville, in East Knoxville, I should say, in our area. 8 stores thereabouts, and with people leaving, short-staffed, you have managers being worn thin, and the remaining staff gets worn thin because you have less drivers, so they have to pick up the slack for other drivers. People are still demanding their pizza. People are still demanding the delivery, that sort of thing. So it puts a strain on the remaining staff, and then more people get stressed out and they leave, or they get sick. The mental health issues and all this stuff happens, and plus me with having family issues and having to take time off and make these emergency trips and spending the money on plane tickets and all this stuff. I felt the strain, but in returning and doing all that, I decided that I'm going to start working one more day so that I can get a better paycheck and get more tips. Well, people are starting to tip less, so that's less money in my pocket. I'm starting to work more. Hopefully I'll be able to see that on the paycheck when I get the next paycheck. But because I'd also been gone for a while, it'd been like a month that I hadn't worked because I've been off.
Yeah, it had seemed like it had been a little while there, buddy. Yeah.
Gone for 2 weeks. Come back. And
getting close to me.
I come back to Knoxville from visiting family up in Maine, and they didn't put me on the schedule, so I was off a week. And then the week that I was supposed to work, excuse me. The week I was supposed to work, I get sick, so that's another week off. 4 weeks, that's a month. So money's getting super tight for me now, and I'm getting stressed out about that. And then really wanting to get back into doing podcasting, getting back into the goals that I have in mind, the creative stuff that I want to do. I'm tired all the time, and I'm still trying to keep a smile on my face, but it's very tough to do. And like I said, on top
do you
of that,
think just physically you just don't have it in your gas tank to do the job anymore?
It's just kind of like a phone battery, when you wear your battery out and then you try to recharge it, and then it wears out quick, and then you try to recharge it. After a while, it's just kind of like the battery doesn't hold a charge.
Well, there's other jobs though. You could be doing other things. You could be doing things that you make 3 times the amount of money, and it's half the effort. You just have to seek those ventures out and make things happen.
Yeah, it's not impossible.
The merch with 3231 alone could supplement at least 1 day's work. Like nobody's under any expectations that we would sell thousands of shirts, but maybe we could sell dozens of shirts, and if they're $25 a piece, I mean, hey, that's something. You know what I mean? It's not an incredible amount, but I mean, look at this wonderful shirt that I'm wearing here. I mean, this is the kind of fine merchandise you can get when you shop at our little store. Yeah. Yeah. We do have a shop.323.1 where we do have T-shirts available in multiple styles and multiple designs. If anybody would like to partake of that, or at least browse, please feel free to. I apologize. Jason Blackburn said, I got COVID and double pneumonia. Almost died, stayed 2.5 weeks in ICU. I thank God I'm still here, so I understand where you're coming from. Well, thank you, Jason. Yeah, and I apologize. I mean, I'm sorry to hear, I should say, that you had to go through that as well. But, yeah, so I've been focusing on the things that I can focus on, that I have control over, which is the attitude that I have, the mindset that I have, and really focusing on trying to find a positive, which brought me to the point of tears.
No, well, focusing on content that we can create, the message that I can put out to the internet. Excuse me, that we can put out to the internet, which is a positive message. It motivated me a great deal to get on here and talk to people about love and something positive, something that we can aspire to. And so I proposed that to Ben, and here we are.
Thank you, Jason. Yeah, Matt's oxygen level could be low too. Are you checking your O2?
I haven't recently.
Okay,
but I have.
Every time you're really tired, you should be checking your O2. Thank you, Jason. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up there, buddy. Thanks to the Peanut Gallery.
No, I appreciate that.
If Matt just listens to everybody who has good advice.
I check my blood pressure constantly.
Yeah, but it's O2
I
as
check
well.
my glucose as well. I don't have the means to check my O2 other than
there's a little finger thing. You just put it on your finger. You don't have that?
I don't have the little finger thing.
All right. Well, I know what you get you for your birthday.
Right?
Yeah.
No, I do. I have made a doctor's appointment for a checkup. So when I have gone, they say your oxygen levels are fantastic, and my cholesterol has been great. Everything's been great, other than the fact that I have high blood pressure. But
they've never seen such good blood pressure. They're like, you're 50. What are you, like 280, 7 feet tall?
No,
gorgeous beard.
I wish I was 280. I think I've gotten down to like 310.
Which is great because I mean it was not a pretty picture, folks. Yeah.
So I'm working on what I can work on, but
but you definitely feel better though, right? From dropping all that weight and
oh sure.
I mean
it's
almost a whole person. I mean,
yeah, I've seen it on my face. I've seen it on my body. Like I am flaps of skin now. I notice definitely.
I think what you need to do now is something physical that's also fun, like paddle boarding or fishing or hiking or running from bears or something physical that you got to do.
At some point, I may do that. Absolutely,
because just getting exercise from your job isn't enough to reverse all the damage you put on yourself being so sedentary for so long, And then the yoga. You should really try doing yoga. Because I know you talked about it for years that you were going to start doing it. Well, now you've lost all that weight that you had. You didn't use yoga to do it, but you could use yoga now because now you're so much better. You could use it to get stretched, like getting a bad way of saying it.
Getting stretched.
Yeah, it's basically just getting stretched out and used to doing things more physical. And maybe it's good that you're not doing physical things right now because your body's a mess. You know what I mean? And anything you do, you should really have somebody who knows what they're talking about helping you because you're going to be 50 and you're like, I'm going to go from a sedentary lifestyle to something not sedentary. What does that look like for me? And and everybody's different,
Hey, Tom's here. Hey, guys, I think obviously money is key, but your personal happiness is most important. Keeps you alive. Always live by never get too busy making a living that you forget to make a life. Sure, absolutely.
That's perfect advice there, Tom.
Well said, Tom. Yeah, I don't know. I just try to take it, a step at a time, and when I feel motivated to go. I mean. It's nothing new to say that when I'm motivated to do something, I'll do something, kind of a thing. I've walked before, and then I haven't walked, and I've tried to do stairs and stuff like that, and try to create the opportunity to exercise and move around a little bit more than normal. But I do that at work where I'll lift stuff. I'll add a little bit, not a routine necessarily, but I'll add little things to the normal movement that I make and stuff like that. I'm trying to ease into it. I'm not an active person, never been an active person, but I know that some of that will help. So,
I mean, especially now, because I mean, your heart condition and stuff like that. If you don't do something now, it's not going to end well.
Yeah. Well, it's not going to end well anyways because heart disease is in my family, and so there's a lot of that. That's just like the doctor said.
The moment you were born, you died.
The doctor had told me that before. He's like, well, from what we see here, we know how you're going to die. It's just a matter of when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it won't happen in your 30s. It'll happen in your 80s or 90s or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Forget about that. Yeah.
So, I've been focusing a great deal on my mental health and peace of mind, and trying to find out, trying to get into a place where I'm comfortable where I am. And that's the reason why I'm sticking to doing the pizza delivery, because that's the job that I like. I found a thing that I like. And even though some people are having problems and it's causing problems for other people, I still have a job. I'm still happy with my job.
They say people are tipping less, just because the economy's in the toilet and inflation and stuff.
Oh, I don't know.
You mean all the things that are horrible with the world, and then they're not tipping.
I could guess. I could speculate that it's got to do with the economy. $5 a tank for gas and stuff like that, and all the prices are up, inflation, blah blah blah.
But like the price of the pizza should reflect that. You know what I mean? Like, why should you be getting stiffed on the tip? You're the one who's delivering it.
Well,
you know?
I don't know. That's not necessarily for me to
And if I
decide,
can't
but-
afford pizza, and Ford pizza includes tipping the driver a decent tip, I don't order pizza. I'll go pick it up myself.
That's the way that some people are. Is
Yeah.
they're like, I can't afford to tip the driver, but I want my pizza delivered to me. I want like the people are choosing how they
You
spend
can't
their
do
money.
Uber Eats like that. Like you pay Uber Eats, you pay like $30 for like a $12 meal because it's delivered or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I know you did the Instacart at one point as well. So like delivery was like something that you just did, and it didn't matter who it was from or But
yeah, Instacart and DoorDash and all that. But that kind of sucked because
you didn't make more money doing that than you do delivering pizzas.
immediately you make more money, but on the back end of it, tax season, you end up owing $700 instead of getting $700 back.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So, because they don't withhold taxes, and so I wanted a job, an actual employed job.
The scooter gig was kind of good with that though, because it was 1099, but they did pay your taxes though, right? Or no? How'd that work?
I don't remember that.
Oh no. We didn't have to pay gas for the car. Like we used their vehicle. We didn't have to use our own vehicle.
Yeah, I barely remember when we did that, but
I only did it for like 90 days, but it was just a job just to have something to do. Like I think I started at like 10 p.m. and I went to like 2, but like I hardly ever worked till 2. I just,
And what I made it like 2 days, and then I got injured and.
What happened? Did you just fly off a scooter?
Yeah, you don't remember that?
No, I tell everybody what happened, everybody.
So, downtown Knoxville, they have these communal, public usage scooters that run off of motors with batteries, and Ben and my job were to. I mean, I got the job because of Ben was to go around and retrieve these scooters and or just replace the batteries there on the spot, charge batteries. And so we would at nighttime be going from place to place and picking up these scooters and working on them sometimes and loading them onto the van and that sort of thing. And a couple times I operated the scooters.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, when heading from one area to another, just to corral them. And the back brakes on one particular scooter weren't working, so I used the front brakes, and I used them on a decline, which meant that
nope.
and the scooters go fairly fast. So of course I face planted literally. I went to a knee, and then my chest, and an arm, and then my face, and I went boom, 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 boom. My glasses broke right down the middle. I end up getting like a big cut across the bridge of my nose.
I remember it was just so long before you could go back to work because you smashed your glasses up and you didn't have a replacement.
Yep.
So even if you were perfectly fine and you could work, you'd be like, I don't have any glasses.
Yep.
I gotta,
And I injured my shoulder and I injured my knee. The knee was the worst part of it. Like it was.
All for that shitty job, dude. It was like
swole up
$12 an hour. What? People always ask me, like, "Is this a good job?" And I'm like, I mean, like, it's an honest job. I mean, you're not robbing people for a living. But
every
I mean,
job has their pluses and minuses, pros and cons. Yeah.
It was a good part-time job. I wouldn't want that to be like a full-time gig or whatever. But
and a younger guy, a more active guy, like you, did much better at that.
It wasn't anything I wanted to do long-term. It was cool because I got to see parts of the city that I otherwise, wouldn't have gotten to see, especially when you work those hours, like seeing downtown for what it is, an old city, and then the fort, and going all over UT, and we have a beautiful city here in Knoxville.
We absolutely do.
We're talking about love. I absolutely love Knoxville, and I don't like big cities. And when we first came here years ago, we thought it was so special that you could be like downtown, in a real downtown, with skyscrapers, big giant buildings, restaurants, theaters, and then you could hop on the interstate, which is right there.
Yep.
And then in no time, it felt like you were in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
Now, I know that's not necessarily true, but like where we live here, we're 25 minutes from downtown. We live in the country. There's horses and cattle and pigs and, like, you know what I mean? Like, we do live in the country, but we're only 25 minutes from downtown. How many other areas?
There's a nice fresh spring down the road. There are plenty of parks. There's, plenty of, woods and it's quiet and
The whole area is beautiful, and East Tennessee has just been booming the last couple of years.
And in a matter of 8 minutes, you can be right downtown in a parking garage, and then walk to the theater. And there are some great restaurants and stuff like that. Some great
one of the things I really wish Knoxville had, and I know this is probably coming in the future, is a better light rail option. And then here's another futuristic one for you for the Ben files or for the Benjamin files. Is the concept of personal electric vehicles. You know what we're talking about. So like the scooters, and there's also like little motorcycles that are basically e-bikes kind of deal. Okay. Think about what's required for those to safely go on like a road that's only designed for them. So not a road designed for semis or big giant trucks, but just a road for them. How much does that cost to build? Well, it's got to be way less than what a highway is or whatever. So we could have roads, elevated roadways, just for those all over the place. It wouldn't cost anywhere near what it would be, but you couldn't drive a car on them. You know what I mean? Like the biggest thing you could drive, let's say, is a golf cart. You know, like the Villages. You know, that would be the biggest thing. But most things are going to be smaller than a golf cart.
Yeah.
And then once you have something like a universal car that could just pick you up, you know, you wouldn't need that expansive of a system. You would just need something that you could
and I love the concept
to get to light rail.
Yeah, and I love the concept of what they wanted to do with Teslas and stuff, which is you don't own a car.
Yeah, exactly. You lease it. You can buy it, and then you can lease it back to Tesla, and Tesla uses it when you're not using it.
Yeah, effectively, it's an Uber. It's
your car could make you money every day. Your car could go out and work a job. Now, you know, SpaceX has a humanoid robot. You haven't heard about this yet? I haven't talked to your ear about this yet? Oh, I'm shocked. Okay. So what Tesla's saying is that the humanoid robot system is going to be worth more than the entire automotive system is now. All the automotives for the entire world. In just this one thing, that SpaceX is going to be making humanoid labor robots that can essentially just replace people. You know, now are you going to be able to replace every person at every job? Well, of course not. You're not going to be able to do that.
At the very
but what
least,
if
you
you
need
bought
operators and stuff.
A robot, and you finally had your maid? What tasks would you have for your robot? If you finally were able to afford one, what would you make that robot do?
I have no idea.
Deliver pizzas. Because that's what you're doing with yourself. You found that the perfect job for you. All your decisions in life, you're delivering pizzas.
I don't know that I would be interested in getting a robot.
No,
really, no. Because I don't know. Unless like a companion sort of a thing, like a pet sort of a thing.
No, fully working robot, like it can actually do tasks, like an Android, like a Data, but
not
a smart.
It's fun as an entertainment purposes kind of a thing.
Well, they're going to literally replace us, and we're going to be job. You know, you won't be able to have a job because, like robots can do almost everything.
Right, but
at what point does that happen? Does it because SpaceX is developing them now?
But would we own the robots, or would the companies just get the robots?
Both. I don't know how that would work.
Not having a property, living in a van, I operate my own vehicle.
You could just turn your van into Johnny Cab.
That's true.
And just have your little Android buddy drop you around, drive you around.
I would be Michael Knight and Kit kind of a deal.
Yeah,
That'd
exactly.
Pretty much
be Knight Rider.
That would
Matt
be my
his
robot.
van.
Yep.
I would love that. There you go.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
There was
now back to the show.
No, I was just saying I agree with you as far as Knoxville and the closeness to activity if you so choose to have that activity.
We're an hour away from the whole Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, Madness area.
In fact, I had a nice day on Monday. I went to see Elvis, the Elvis movie at the theater downtown, and then I walked a couple stores down, and there was a Mediterranean cuisine restaurant, Copita, I think it's called a Copita, that had I got some shawarma and some rice, and it was had a nice little meal. It made a nice little day of it. It was a great afternoon to have. And Summer is joining us as well. Hey, Summer on TikTok.
Was that at Yassine's?
What's that?
Did you get that from Yassine?
Yassine?
Yeah. Did you see the movie Downtown, or did you?
Yeah, I went to the Regal.
So where did you get all that food from?
Like I said, it was a place called Copita.
Oh, okay.
Three or four doors down from.
Gotcha.
From
I'm
the
sorry.
theater. Be right back. And reset router. My upload speed. Okay, so Jamie's found out that it's his problem, not the not
Good.
Not our issue.
We're glad that we could help fix your problem, Jamie.
Summer, we are on YouTube right now. You can go to youtube.323.1 and join us on the live chat in our YouTube live chat on our broadcast.
For our amazing 1 hour broadcast show, which is where we're lined up for one of the best. Yeah.
We got probably, I don't know, we make a little bit longer.
Hey,
than
we
an
got
hour
good numbers,
since-
buddy. We don't have rookie numbers anymore. Those single-digit shows don't happen anymore. We at least get it to 25.
And we'd have like 20 minutes if we were going to be 1 hour show. So
Absolutely. So we should just jam out the rest of the show on this whole love business.
get to the hot. I have no problem with that at all.
Yeah. Like self-love?
Well, here's the thing.
Because, I mean, you got to love yourself, right, before you can love anybody, right?
It's the topic that I wanted to discuss is one of the most important things in spirituality, in philosophy. I mean, it's the most featured topic in art, in music, in literature, and in film. Everybody discusses it because it is, and I put this in the description. It's someone brilliantly called the critical adhesive. You find out in your life at one point or another that you need it as much as air, as much as water, as much as sleep. Having love in your life is an essential part of living. I was doing like a little bit of research, some fun things about it. It's given some interesting definitions as well. So many people talk about it, and there are like people say there are 4 different kinds of love, familial love, and all that, and different love languages, and so many people define it.
I got a question for love.
Absolutely. Just as briefly, a profound, tender, passionate affection for another person, a strong feeling of affection and concern towards another person that's arising from kinship, or it could be dealing towards an object as well. I found it, but it doesn't show you're live. Am I typing something wrong? Nope. Nope. If you should be able to go to youtube.323.1, and that would lead you to the playlist where you'll find this episode on live.
This one that's happening right now.
Yeah. But what was your question about love?
So, like, you can feel love, right? Like when someone loves you, you feel that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
sometimes
Brad Pitt is loved by millions. Does Brad Pitt feel love times a million? Or does he feel the same love that you and I feel when people, people love you, you know what I mean? Like, but does he feel that times a billion?
I don't know. That's the thing. The one of the things that I've found,
It'd be great if it was true, though.
It would be great. I mean, I have people tell me that they love me, and you can be.
If you add it up, it's a lot.
The interesting thing is that is it love or lust for breakfast?
But does he feel lust? Does he? I mean,
well, that's the thing. Is that
I lust after Brad Pitt. I mean, look at
the concept of
his
love.
Body of work alone. Yeah,
is easy.
Mm-hmm.
People are difficult. The way that we perceive things, and then all the rules, all the extra stuff that we put on it, we make it a difficult thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy. People have a hard time identifying what love is, and they often mistake lust for love, or infatuation for love, or like the which all kind of technically falls under the same category, but it's a kind of love that you desire that ends up categorizing the different types of love that you receive in different ways. And when you also figure that when we're talking about something like love languages, you're talking about ways that people receive love or give love, which is one of the things that I've looked up as well. Some people have a certain love language that they accept,
Mm-hmm.
and so that can end up causing. Excuse me.
How much room do you got for love? How many people can you love? What's
Well,
the max?
Well, that's the thing. As a concept,
Is that Dunbar's number?
That's one
Is
of
that the same thing? Can you love 150 people? Can you love 250 people?
I feel like that there's something to that in the fact of how much we process as human beings, how much we think that we're retaining and receiving, how much data is actually processing in our brains, and how much just kind of goes through us. Because we're in a world right now where people are processing so much information about all the relationships that they're in and outside, and the things happening in the world.
They stop doing that.
Well, like I said, people are complicated, so there are so many filters and so many things going on that if they were to take the time to think more simply and to change their perception, because like we always say on here, perception is reality. If people are perceiving things a certain way, and they're also dealing with the trauma in their life that's changed their perception and distorted their perception, that they're just not receiving the love in the way that they should, and so there lies the problem. That is it possible to receive love from a certain number or higher?
Sure. So, but once you admit that, then there's like, okay, well, then are we going to try to heal these wounds? Because there's like all sorts of different ways to like heal emotional wounds or physical, there's all sorts of different kinds of therapy, and just to give up and be like, oh no, I'm damaged. I'm a damaged toy. You could want to try to fix me, but no, I'm a damaged toy.
Well, that's one of the reasons why we're presenting the conversation. We're presenting
just normalizing it in general that we're all little damaged toys. And this is not Toy Story.
Yeah, because that's one of the main things as well. One of the points that I have, love is a part of our lives from beginning to end. Conception to birth to adolescence, teen, young adult, middle age, old age, death. Throughout it all, we experience love, and we're experiencing so many things and learning so many things throughout our lives. And sometimes there's things to learn that we don't put our attention towards because we're distracted by other things. And we have this habit as human beings to learn something and then that's it. Like, there, I've learned what it is, and that's not the case. We think when we're kids that we learn mom is mom, dad is dad, and that's the way of the world.
Mom and dad actually have first names.
Yeah, and
it's so weird we don't call each other by those names. You have to call me the same name as every other kid calls their daddy.
Yeah, and until a certain point, or maybe you don't have dads at all. Maybe you have two moms. Maybe you have, we're getting to the point now
16 aunts.
Yeah, exactly. We're getting to the point now where there are other things to consider, like maybe more than one parent, maybe more than one, person in your life, adult in your life that you love, that love each other. It's like you never, as you grow, you never stop learning about love. And there's with everything that you're trying to process in your brain, and like I said, all the complicated things that we try to do, all the ways that we as even the smartest person is dumb to certain things, is simply not receiving.
Jason is blasting us with the actual frequencies, and Hearts are healing frequencies. So that's cool, nice. Buddy. Yeah, 432 hertz, and then 528. Yeah, there's all sorts of cool stuff with that audio stuff, man, and the different frequencies and whatnot. We could definitely one of our shows where we're doing any kind of like deep dive on conspiracy stuff. We'll talk about the hemisync, and we'll talk about that. But definitely, love stuff is, yeah. But
when if you were to look up online love languages, generally they say there are 5 types of love languages. There's words of affirmation. So basically words, acts, gifts, quality time, and physical touch. And there are some people that, because of experiences that they've had in their brains, because of things that they've learned in their life, experiences that they've had, sometimes some of those are shut off to them. So you yourself are your brain, whether consciousness or the conscious or unconscious or subconscious, rather to say, you sometimes shut off some of those things that you you respond to a couple of them, and then others you could be oblivious for one reason or another. So we do things in our brains the way, like I said, our in our minds, we. I wouldn't say sabotage, but that's close to the word I'm thinking of, where we end up just not receiving certain types of love. And I don't know about you, but for me, I grew up in the 70s and 80s and 90s, and the discussion of love itself was a taboo topic, kind of a thing. It was an uncomfortable topic to
No,
even
not
discuss.
not in my lovely household. No, I was raised by Bonnie, so no, that stuff was none of that was ever off
You
limits.
just don't discuss it.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't off limits, so you did discuss that?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, in
And
my
then even as a teenager, I was already going to therapy. So it was like as a teenager, I was already dealing with anxiety and depression, and what is love? That was definitely a discussion. What was that was definitely not an issue, but there were so many other things though, like baseline stuff or what's normal and what's not normal. That's where we had a lot of issues because what my mom thinks is normal is not the same thing as what your mom thinks is normal.
Sure.
Your mom, like, that's batshit crazy.
Sure.
The stuff, hearing the stories out of my mom over the years of the experiences that she had, the people that she met, her father being who he was, you know what I mean? Like that alters you in ways you have no idea. And then to be the kid of that. So it's like, okay, mommy, show me what's real or what's normal. And then it's like, okay, here's the Bizarro Bonnie world, and it's like, okay, well, that's what I base my reality on. So it's not until I'm I'm 41 now. Right.
Yep.
So it's like, now I'm realizing this, like, oh, what other people experience, what I experience are two different things. So it's like, my reality is different.
Yep.
And until you've even just been in my orbit, you don't know what my presence is naturally. Like, have you ever sat down and talked to Ben about asteroid colonies or permaculture or, any number of things where, I can go 1,000 miles per hour on, that's knowing me. That's knowing Ben. That's experiencing me.
But how many conversations have we had about asteroid colonies versus how many conversations
17.
have we had about love?
2.
It's like that sort of, to have a conversation with one person to discuss something that's so important. But as Tom said, we can be loved in so many different ways by different people. That Tom considers it a very general term and with many meanings. You could say in that same breath, love is one thing. It's perceived in many ways. It's given and received in many different ways, but it's still one thing.
Oh, we got Nicole. Speaking of love.
Nicole, hey, speaking of love.
Speaking of my lovely wife, who I love.
And it's like, it's such an important thing, but we make it difficult for ourselves, whether we're consciously doing it, intentionally doing it or not. Like,
we like to hoard it too.
Yeah.
And we like to, those of us that are getting it want to make sure that we keep getting it. And those of you that are not getting it, we want to pass laws so you can't just go buy love. You can't just,
and so there's so many different definitions to it. There's so much to it that it ends up becoming very difficult for people to deal with the topic. And certainly, like in the past, it's a difficult topic for two men to sit down and discuss, or a group of people to discuss.
Where do you draw the line
so many different
with
directions.
like between care about someone and love someone? Like how? Because like if you care about somebody, is that a level of love? I mean,
absolutely. When
you care about them at least enough that love is natural. Love is natural.
Yeah, again, so many people want to throw a definition on it that it ends up causing problems because it becomes about how I define it versus how you define it, rather than just rather than just about it in general. It's my inner tubes. All right. Like I've said before, and I have no problem saying it, that you are my friend and I love you. I care about you a great deal. I want to see the best things for you. I say the same thing to a lot of people that in these days, in the past 7 years, I've changed my view of, like, 7 years ago, I would have said easily, yes, there are different kinds of love. There's familial love, there's romantic love, there's appreciation for certain things, there's certain desires for certain things, and certain people, infatuation, and all these other words. There are other words used to describe love, but I wouldn't say that there is several different kinds of love. There's one love. There's care. Caring is the same thing as love. It's the way that you view certain things and certain people. There are different cases where you're talking about familial love, or you're talking about romantic love, and that sort of thing, where you're expressing it differently. But it's still it's a facet of the same thing. And there are some things that we consider to be love, like you said, going to buy love. You're talking about prostitution.
Sure.
Okay. Well, I just want.
Yeah.
So
or robot love or something.
Sure. So you're talking about
mechanical.
You're not
pleasure.
necessarily talking about love. You could be talking about physical satisfaction. You could be talking about.
Could you buy love otherwise, though? And why can't you?
Well,
why should that be wrong?
Love is something. Love isn't something that you buy. Love is something that you feel.
You could plenty of relationships I've been in that I bought love.
Well, it's not a purchasable item.
Is it?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
because I wouldn't. Because even if you paid me to love you, if I didn't care about you, I wouldn't. I really wouldn't.
Yeah. The money has nothing to do with how you feel. It's like buying anger. You don't buy anger. You can be angry about something. You can money could provide you access to something that you could end up responding to with a certain emotion, but that emotion exists.
But like we love Brad Pitt, we love Tom Cruise. I love Nine Inch Nails. I show that love by buying their albums and their tour.
Okay, so you could
tickets.
buy expressions of love, gifts. Sure. Like I said,
I could give that live album to Nicole because I know she loves it.
Yeah, so
she loves it. She does. She loves it. So who does she love? Does she love the recording? Does she love the artist? Does she love the idea? Does she love the concept?
Could be yes to the whole thing. It's all the same thing.
So love is just a frequency.
Obsessed with money misleads love. No, we have a fondness for those people who think an endearment. Yeah, that's the thing that people like.
Well, isn't one of the Christian deals like not worshiping idols? Like, is that in the Ten Commandments?
Well, worship is different than love.
No. I'm talking about endearment or fondness and stuff like that. Like, you shouldn't hold anyone up to that level. You know what I mean? Like what we idolize Tom Cruise or John Travolta or whatever. Like millions of people love them.
Well, I don't think Tom you're
love.
responding to what Tom
define
said.
it as love. They love that character. Love
idolatry would be different than fondness.
Okay. But it's on the same spectrum, though, right? Kind of?
No? I wouldn't necessarily say so.
Okay.
Appreciation for something. Well, I mean, according to the definition of love, like if you're going by the definition in the dictionary, it says it's a strong feeling of affection or a strong feeling of whatever. So, I mean, but...
Cole's just saying no.
You're talking about the Bible and idolatry, about worshiping.
But I mean, it's how we base basically our whole civilization is off the Bible. So I mean, even if you're not a Christian, you should some. I mean, Western society is based off. You know, I mean, what's legal and what's not legal is because of the Bible. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
again,
that's weird,
that goes back to my point of that love is easy. People are complicated. People, You're talking about when your art and literature and all those things that we talk about, like romantic love and marriage, the whole idea of getting married because you love somebody, as opposed to what.
So here's what we need to do, Matt. Okay. So we don't have much more time for the show. So I think probably this will be the segment that we end with. We'll do a little bit of announcements at the end, but let's sit. And we're already sitting, but let's paint a little picture for everybody who's listening to and watching us at home. So Matt and I, we have a time machine, and that time machine is 10,000 worlds. And we're going to bring out 10,000 worlds, and we're going to go to a time where people didn't live like they do now. I don't know how many years ago this is, but we're going to go and we're going to time travel. And everybody now we're thousands of years in the past, and we're watching a family union of people. And these people are more primitive people, but they're human beings. And how are they living? What are they doing right now? Well, do you smell that, everybody? Do you smell the smoke? Because they're burning a wood fire, and they're cooking an animal that somebody caught, and then they're going to eat that animal, and then later they're going to poop, and you're going to smell the poop. Okay? People lived very primitive for a very long time. And was that sustainable? Yes, it was. It was a very sustainable thing. How much of the civilization do we have left? Well, you say we have pyramids and stuff. We have buildings and all sorts of ruins and stuff. But
we've
bulk
built
of it. Yeah.
we've built more rules.
Mhm.
We've built more objects that we use that we call civilization.
Mhm.
That life has become about maintaining those structures rather than maintaining a family, rather than maintaining
or a
community.
level of living.
Mhm.
And is that level of living sustainable for 8 billion people on our planet? And I want to suggest that it's not.
Oh no.
And that
You have paper currency, which is ridiculous, or even
Yeah.
before gold, which has a certain value that people put a value on those objects, put a value on those structures, on those the constructs. That is, it's like it's become a sandbox. We're playing pretend. Things have a certain value that becomes more important than
Yeah.
what is real and what is right in front of you, which is the people around you.
well, I've always kind of said it's your family versus 8 billion people, and it's like, is that really good odds? Like you're participating in life like as a competitive sport, and that's your team is your family or who you love. You know what I mean? That how much love do you have? How big is that family? And that if you go back even a couple hundred years, tribes were a thing, and people lived in tribes. And then we look at Dunbar's number being like 150 people. How big was your regular tribe? Well, it was like 150 people, and if you start
a manageable community.
Yes.
To work
Yeah.
with. Yeah.
I mean, like, if you just think about that, like that's my neighborhood where we live now is that amount of people ish, maybe even a little bit bigger. But if you actually formed communities or systems based off of communities that size, it's the reverse of like thinking globally, but it's thinking globally, act locally. And if you could produce almost everything you needed locally within walking distance of your house or your neighborhood or whatever, how much dependency would you have on foreign oil or another country in Europe or whatever? If you raised, I know you can't raise everything locally, but lower your fucking standard of living for one. We don't need an iPhone every year. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many bullshit things that we can all agree on. Like, okay, well, we don't need every year. We don't need one, but even like with clothes, people who spend thousands of dollars on clothes, like, are you serious? Like, you have $100 t-shirt. Like, what's your, like, buy my $100 t-shirt if you got that kind of money. But
part of your daily existence is a structure called Walmart, which is a gigantic
Yeah.
building filled with disposable, time-sensitive. What's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah.
They're
Disposable
perishable
garbage, perishable garbage.
perishable, like a gigantic warehouse
Yeah.
that exists every
And
10
I'm not-
miles, 20 miles.
I'm not under the disillusion that things like that aren't necessary, because you do need a delivery mechanism for people to get products from where they're manufactured to where they live. So like,
But it goes too far.
You need a supply depot, or you need a loading dock set up. You know what I mean? Like, your neighborhood needs something so that you can go and get the things you need, like a store or whatever. And then, but for things to get trucked in. So instead of having, like your local area, have big giant stores, it's a much smaller amount of places that are broken up over the areas, way more decentralized and so on. So like, if my neighborhood was only worried about powering my neighborhood, how big would that solar be? If my neighborhood was only concerned about feeding itself, what does that look like? How many people have to be farmers? How many people are barbers? How many people are cobblers? Who the fuck repairs shoes? You know what I mean? Like, there's so many professions that, you wouldn't need a ton of web guys, I guess. You know what I mean? But what do those communities look like? And that's an interesting question. And intentional communities are something that happen and form all over the United States. But it's almost like the conspiracy guy in me wants to think that there is something to that size of a group, whether it's a social group or, a group of like-minded individuals, when they can team up and they can pool resources, just the group that we have now, how many acres of land do we have access to for farming purposes, for raising animals? You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot already. So you can only imagine if you had 150 people all signed up on the same team, like, this is what our goal is. This is what we're all willing to do, because we all have special skills, special things that we bring to the table. And if we can just commit, what could you do? And then,
thank goodness that this problem doesn't exist everywhere in the world. Like, there are some people, there are some communities, some countries that are living simply and don't have the problems that we have, and don't have the waste that we have, and don't have the. You
could live in North Korea, dude.
Yeah, there are some places where there isn't a McDonald's every 2 miles and a Starbucks every 2 miles. And
yeah, there's some areas that are really shitty in the world, and
they have different problems, sure, but
they have different problems. Yeah, well, in a lot of places too, the cost of living is super low too. So like that's like another set of problems that it's like, well, why would a low cost of living be a problem? It's like, well, do you want to own apartment buildings in an area where it's only like $200 a month to rent an apartment? Like, no, that's not a very good business. So what do you want to do? You want to raise the cost of living. Well, what's been happening in the United States over the last 10 years? Has the cost of living gone up? Oh, yes, it's gone up. Has inflation happened? Yeah. Well, and that was the one thing too that like really it didn't surprise me, or it didn't make me laugh, but like inflation's always been a thing that they like ignored and lied and said that there wasn't inflation. And then when they started like telling us, oh yeah, actually there is inflation, it's like, oh, okay, like how many more things are you guys going to start admitting to? And then like they've already started admitting about UFOs and aliens and stuff. And like, okay, what kind of crazy diversion stuff are you guys after? And then just the stuff that's been happening lately, which I'm not going to go into at all, makes
so
me
much to discuss,
want to just be done. And no more TV, no more movies, no more television, just of new stuff. That's one of the things I could agree to. Like, no more going out to the movies, but if I want to watch Akira or like Pulp Fiction, you know what I mean? Like, okay, I can do that, because I'm not going to be obsessed about Pulp Fiction for a week after watching it. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to enjoy it. But the one thing for entertainment that I want to do is I want to read more. Like, I surround myself with so many useful books, and I don't frickin' read them. And why? Well, because all your free time is watching TV, YouTube, movies. Yep. I mean, I have other chores. I do other things, but if I cut all that stuff out and just said, nope, no more, I think I would read more. And I think I would be beneficial for everyone connected with me, or it has anything to do with 3231 or the Knoxville Regenerative Co-op or the East Tennessee Regenerative Network. Like, they would all benefit if Ben would just read a lot more.
And I think that's really similar to what I'm talking about, like, as far as the idea of love, like having the discussion, talking about caring for people, looking past, like we talked about, the objects and the structures that have become.
I used to read on
priority.
the toilet a lot. I that's kind of a bad habit, but a bad good habit. I mean, I don't want you reading my books while you're on the toilet. But I mean, I guess if they're my own, it's not too bad.
Well, I mean, it's all like, that's all a matter of perspective as well, because what are you going to do?
They would have the Sears Roebuck. They'd have the Sears Roebuck catalog, and you'd read that while you were on the toilet, and then you'd pull the pages and use that as toilet paper. I hope that's true. Jamie, can you look that up? I don't want to tell people lies.
But it's such a, with everything that's going on, like you said, with so many things that are going on right now, and like we said earlier on, the world's going crazy. People have the wrong priorities, and people are taking the wrong stand in a lot of areas, and like that. There are more important things to discuss. There are more important things to.
Yeah, no, I think it's you better start getting good at growing food, because in the future there might be only two ways to get food. One of them is you grow it yourself, or you know someone who grew it for you, or you go to the FEMA camp, and that's where you get your food. And then the only way to get the food though is to stay in the camp. And I don't want to be one of those people. I want to be an independent person who's not dependent on someone else for something as silly as food. Like, it's everywhere. You just need to know where to go. you know, what to plant. You know, the perennial food forest system is a real thing. It's not like it's not magical or whatever. Like you can design systems that make you food.
And when you're talking about systems, you're talking about the valuable resources, and that could be shelter, and that could be electric, that could be power, and that could be food.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And love is a resource, but people don't think about that as much because they just put it in the back. Just like with mental health, people end up putting that on the back burner because it's not something tangible they can look at and say, "I don't have this. I need this." You can harvest vegetables. You can look at it. You can look at your crop, and you can say what you have and don't have.
We had a really interesting experience over the weekend. We went to multiple different events, but talking about love and small groups of people and stuff. Connection, yeah. So we went to this food preservation demonstration at a small church out in Strawberry Plains, and it's one of those kind of conservative Christian groups that's like Patriot. You know, they're definitely like they're big, you know, United States and big into the Bible and Jesus and all that. But they definitely pointed out all the same things that you just talked about and how crazy everything is and how it's a really good idea for you to at least know how to grow food and preserve it and all the different ways that you do that. And they had a really good demonstration. It was really cool. And I think it was definitely, it gave Nicole confidence to finally break the seal on the pressure canner and can up some zucchini and squash.
Yeah, that was cool. I saw that on Facebook. Nicole says, isolation from people is the worst thing that anyone can do. It impacts mental health, and COVID pandemic has proven this. Yep.
For sure.
All right, so horrible things have happened because of the pandemic. But I think in the process, a couple good things have happened that we've learned that isolation can be a problem. If things keep going the way they've gone, and we didn't have this happen to us, like people, you learn from tragedy, you learn from experience, and people have had these experiences to open their eyes to reflect and say something is wrong with the world, and that's one of the reasons why the world has gone crazy is because the world's gone crazy
by design, Matt.
Well, no. I'm saying that people are aware because of, you know, they've taken a step back. They've been forced to take a step back and reflect and see that something is wrong. Like we're starting to talk about the word systemic is happening, is being on people's lips way more than it has in the past. Whether you're talking about race and gender, about identity, about the policy. The way that governments treat the people, who's the government is benefiting.
Morality is less, Nicole says.
Yeah, it's gone.
So you admit though that like people have value, right? Do all people have the same value?
I mean, how do you define that? Like the people have value.
So if you're putting together a team. You're putting together a team to accomplish a mission, and that mission is to survive the apocalypse.
Everybody has different functions.
And people come to you and they say, here's what I'm good at. Here are my skills. Here's what I've done professionally for the last. Now, even the underwater basket weaver, the person who can weave a basket, has a skill that's useful to you. Now, if it's a liberal arts major that has... you know, no concrete skills other than like being able to research stuff. Okay, well, that's great. That's a skill. But if I come to you and I say I'm a welder, I'm a mechanic, I'm a carpenter, and I'm a hunter, who are you going to let in to your little community? Me or the liberal arts major? Now, if you got tons of mechanics and hunters...
There are more factors when you're talking about that in itself. Like, we're talking about ethics, basically. If you have someone that has skills, someone that has a talent that is useful for community, that's one aspect that you need to consider. You also need to consider whether that hunter and gatherer and welder is an asshole or not, if he's selfish or not, if he's willing to be... like.
But our society values all those skills even more so today. That's why they get paid so well an hour to do those things. And if you don't know how to do something, look how wonderful our life is now. If you don't want to do something, you could just find someone to do it. You just have to pay them money. In the future, is that going to be true? Are you going to be able to just pay money to have something done? Well, what if there's a total breakdown and there's no handyman service. There's no electrician. There's no plumber. Your TV. I mean, it'd be great if that's your only problem is your TV gets busted. But yeah,
Not
your
a priority,
toilet starts
but yeah.
backflowing into your house and you get shit all over your house. Who do you call when the shit's hit the fan? You know what I mean? Like you just deal with that shit. And who's there to help you? And who's there to help you is that network that you've put in place of people that you trust, that in the case of emergency, this is who I'm calling.
Right. People, well, that's what I'm saying. People that
that's
you
your
trust.
Community. Yeah.
That's a separate issue than the skill. It's people that you trust
so
that have those skills.
That's one step outside your family. What I'm talking about is a community of people. And the right now, you could be building that community of people up now, even if you're not, utilizing each other's resources at the current moment. But just knowing each other exists and how it's mutually beneficial for both of you to become buddies and get each other's back. So from whatever that is. So I have some specialized skills. There's some things that I know a lot.
Sam is watching us on TikTok right now. Humans are social creatures. Human interaction is crucial, although
they
time to
are. That's
reflect
why
is
going it
needed as
alone
well.
is so silly. The whole lone wolf thing that people fantasize about. We're like, oh, I'll just buy 20 years of MREs and a whole bunch of bullets and I know it's ammunition. I'm just saying what they would say.
Yeah, but
and then they're going to get their bug out location in the Smoky Mountains, and they'll just anybody who comes in their field, they'll just shoot. Be like, oh, really? Like that's not very sustainable. Like, what about where are the garden seeds? Where's the?
That's going to a different extreme that may like survival. When you take something that's understandable,
but it's the mindset.
Too much further. Yeah,
it's the mindset that I'm talking about.
Yep.
And that's why we've been preaching regenerative design, sustainable design. That anytime you're putting any kind of work into these systems, and you should be putting work every day into your system, making what you have a little bit better. Whether that's your physical body, whether that's exercising, whether that's meditating, whether that's breathing, just do something small every day that can better yourself.
Yeah. Having the systems are important.
Yeah.
Re-evaluating how we live as a society and the structures that we value and the objects that we value, and like having less of a focus on that, less of a focus on the pieces of paper that we value and we pursue, and using
the
that
sphere
time,
of
that
influence. Acknowledging your sphere of influence, that's another biggie that I mean we could touch on real briefly. Like as much as Matt and I joke about 3231 having an international audience, which we do,
don't
but
joke about it.
It's small. You know what I mean? Let's just say it's 10,000 people. That's way too big. But anyways, let's just say it's 10,000 people. The amount of influence when we do a show is so small globally that it's a blip. It's a joke, right? But who do you actually have real influence on? Your family? Your family? You have influence on your family?
The people that I interact with. And that could be family, it could be friends, it could be folks that I only talk to for a couple minutes at a time on here.
And how many are those? You know what I mean? Like, so dozens, exactly. All right.
I mean, if I had to say total on over since 2015, I'd easily say we've reached the Dunbar number as far as people that I've communicated with. And I'm planting seeds of a different kind, which is being positive and maintaining a certain message, maintaining a certain point of view, and discussing it. Sam said, Matt has helped me through some rough times in my time. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily matter who
you've helped out people with their rough times, and people have helped you with your rough times, literally while you were having them while on a broadcast. Certainly. Yeah, for sure.
Certainly.
Nicole says you must focus improving yourself before you can worry about others. Well, that's the whole, do you put the mask on yourself when the airplane's going down, or do you help other people around you get the mask,
Well, you're not there. Yeah,
because you got to take care of yourself.
You're not there to help anybody else if you're not there. You can't help someone if you don't exist. So there is a matter of that, and like that's where you talk a lot about. You focus on, which is an important thing, no question about it. About, like I said, goods and services. About a community working together and developing systems, but they're physical systems.
A win-win scenario where
they're pieces of land. They're the use of resources as far as land and water and the building blocks and like places to live and things to do and things to eat and ways that a community can help each other. But mental health is equally as important. It's a separate category, but it's equally as important.
Before anyone thinks that I've designed Utopia, I have not designed Utopia. But if you think about just the concept that you want to meet the needs of 150 people, whatever Dunbar's number is, whether it's 250 or whatever, meet all the needs of the community, whether that's food, water, shelter, health, entertainment, love, meet all those needs. What does that look like on a calorie by dollar or whatever? Okay. I guarantee you it is much cheaper for 150 people to have all their needs taken care of like this than it is for everybody to cook their own meals. Doesn't make sense. Yeah. Restaurants make much more sense than everybody cooking their meal.
Yeah. What you're discussing is not a utopia.
No, it's not.
It's not a perfect place because life is not a perfect thing because people aren't perfect. Because
people aren't perfect for sure.
What you're talking about is a better place, better than what we have, better than the status quo.
And people need to work. I don't think there's any perfect system where like people can completely keep themselves out of doing any of the labor or whatever. But there are very models out there of like religious communities. The Hutterites are ones that do this, and the numbers are very similar. They'll have group housing, and people have their own stuff. But like, do you really need to own your home? Like, not really. I mean, like as long as you own your own things, right? But now people, that's a foreign concept. They'd be like, well, it's my house. I pay the mortgage. We're like, no, you don't pay the mortgage. The community takes care of all of that. And that's a little different from a lot of Americans because hardly anybody I know has ever lived like on an intentional community where things were different or like ownership was different than what we have currently, where, you have a mortgage, you don't have to pay rent anymore because the bank owns it and you're paying the note to the bank. But in exchange, you're able to live in the house, but you got to maintain it, not the bank. Even though the bank's the one that owns the house, shouldn't the bank be the one maintaining the house? You know what I mean? Like it's one of those deals that it doesn't really make sense except for the bank. And the banks have designed all of these systems that we live in, from how we get our food to how we transport to all these things. And they make a very small group of us, human beings, there's 8 billion of us or something, very small amount of us, very, very rich, right? So the Bill Gates, the Jeffrey Bezos, that's very small amount of us are billionaires, right? So when you design systems around 150 people, I'm not saying all those 150 people are going to be millionaires, but you could design a system where everybody is paid not equally because not everybody's skills are equal, but as according to their skill. And I think it could work. And at least let's look at designs and see what does that look like. And the more times you do it, like, because we think futuristic sci-fi, asteroid colony or space station. What does it look like to have that 150 people? What does it look like? What's that dynamic? And it's like we can't think of that. I mean, it's so far removed from the life you've lived. Maybe if you lived in like a military base, maybe then you could kind of like fathom what that kind of lifestyle would be like. But the love aspect of your small church or your congregation, that like that's your local community. I mean, that's who you're brother in Jesus with, and you help people out at your church, right? Isn't that the point of being in a congregation?
It's your support group. Your community is to support you. It is like it's the reason to do everything you do.
Yeah, a mutual support group. Or is like one of these concepts that like is
and we broaden that to family, we broaden that to friends, we broaden that to a community, like the entertainment community, like we have a 323 a fan club or whatever you want to call it. Like it's the same thing. It's on a different scale, like you said. And Nicole has mentioned things like networking is key. People are selfish. Fair share is important in community. Like if someone cooks, another will clean up. The only thing that I would point out with that. I agree with those statements. Other than I don't believe that people are selfish. I think there's a better way to word that. I think that the wrong people in power, the few wrong people in power, are selfish, and they're the ones that are controlling the situation for the rest of the people.
Are they though?
Well,
are the politicians really? They're there so you have someone to yell at. That's it. That's the only
Well,
reason
I'm
they're
talking
there.
like
Because if
businesses and that sort of thing. Like like there are.
businesses are different though. You said politician.
Well, I'm saying, I'm saying there are a few category of few people, a percentage of people, a small that have more power than the rest of it.
But how'd they get that power?
Exactly. Well, yeah, that's true. That's I'm kind of saying to that point as well.
You know, because you'll hear a lot of talk from people who are like communists and socialists and stuff like that, and they talk about the people seizing the assets of like a company and stuff like that. It's like, okay, well, you know, have you started a business? Have you ever started any kind of organization or project? Chances are no, that they never have. You know, I mean, maybe they have. But just to say though that like the people could come in and just steal your all your assets, you know what I mean? Like that's a revolutionary idea, obviously, in concept. But like I don't propose anybody steal anybody's stuff. You know what I mean? Like that's theirs. You know, private ownership is like something that like Americans are really support. You know, and then as soon as you talk about the government coming in and taking away the means for you to make money, make a living, is it's really messed up. And the fact that they didn't even do it themselves, they got patsies to do it. They got because they didn't tell. It wasn't the president telling you that you had to get the shot or you were going to lose your job. No, it was whoever from Domino's. Yeah. You know, they were the ones doing it, and then they.
Well, I was trying to go without stating the name of the company, but
oh my God, did I really?
Yeah.
Oh,
but that's right. That's right.
Fucking Pizza Hut.
Yeah. And there are people who are selfish, but I think that the statement that people, as a bold generalization, are selfish, I think that's
people can be selfish.
Right. Well,
that's a fact.
That's what I'm trying to say.
To say people are selfish all the time is not correct.
That there are enough people out there who are selfish. Who have the power to change the status quo. No, that's not the word I'm looking for either. Crap.
You need to take the time we have. We don't have much time left. You need to take the time and you need to build yourself a community of like-minded individuals that have varied skills that complement each other. And you need to do it fucking fast because the world is turning into a vastly shitty place day by day. And it's getting so bad that you're going to have really good people going to do really bad shit if they feel that they've been backed into a corner and they have no chance. You know, the fight or flight sim, you know, there's a lot of these people out there that just want to be left alone. And there's all sorts of things going on that is forcing shit to happen. And it's not good.
Yeah.
You know,
like I was saying, there are
I don't want to see cities burn this summer. Yeah.
There are people that manipulate the system for their own gain. And there are other like I am one of those people that when I really think about words and I think about a word like selfish, and I'm like, I'm perceived by some people as selfish.
Is it self-preservation though? But, I mean, like really like selfish, like what do you like what is a true definition of being selfish?
Well, that's the thing is that
shouldn't everybody be selfish?
Some selfish is represented as in a malicious sense as it's all about me and not about you. Some people are self-centered. And rightly so, because like take me for example, I would use the word self-centered to describe me, but that's only because no one is in charge of my life. No one is going to take care of me and ensure that I'm alive in the next from except me. I take care of me. I am the main character in my life in my story.
But me as in your body or who Matt Robarge is.
All aspects of it.
All aspects of it.
The selfish, the term selfish, and the people that are being termed as selfish, I think, should be clarified as people who encourage the current system, manipulate the current system for their own benefit.
Well, we weren't all born with the same deck of cards. Some of us had the freaking rule book. You know, and all the cards, you know, I mean, some of the advantages.
And the keys to all the back doors and side alleys and tunnels and the infrastructure that they can bypass a lot of the stuff that everybody else has to walk the
Going
streets.
to Yale awards you opportunities that going to Broward Community College did not. You know, the people that you connected with at Yale and Harvard and MIT are the ones who got you the job working for Lockheed Martin is the guy who got you your clearance. You know what I mean? Like, so
and the same networking and connections that we've mentioned in this chat and in our conversations. Then, like, and when Tuck showed up and was talking about organizations that has an interest in getting those connections, joining certain organizations in order to get the advantage of people who have influence and people who know people, getting those connections. Like, there are some people that use that to their personal benefit, to their personal advantage, rather than the advantage of a community. And that's where I think that the
only way is going to be in communities. The only way to survive in the future is going to be having a team of people that you trust and you help each other, whether that's multiple families or,
Yeah, and that's where I was getting at with you're talking about the welder and the scenario of the person that has all these skills. It's not necessarily the tools that they have, it's how they use it, for what purpose they use those tools. And simply having somebody who is more skilled than the person A, who's in a better position than person B, who doesn't have those skills, that's an aspect of that person. What matters is the reason they are there and what they use their talents for. Because a welder and a banker and somebody who is good with tools and somebody who's a great farmer and has all these things that are going to be beneficial to the community won't be as worth a damn if they're only in it for themselves. They have to be in it for the community. And that's where the important thing I'm talking about, like with love and understanding love and appreciation from other people and having those values.
Yeah, people of value will rise to the
virtues.
top. I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue, especially when we're building up these networks now. You know what I mean? We're putting out events. We're going to events. We're getting invited to all sorts of parties, and we're meeting people in the local community that are, some of these are really awesome people, and we're so happy we're finally getting to meet some really just incredible people. Every time we do an event, there's new people who show up. We're hearing new stories and, how they heard about our events and our groups, and we're really happy that things are evolving the way they are. And at some point, there's going to be opportunities for us to be rewarded for building these networks up. Whether that's, property realistically priced for us so that we can put it home on a piece of property. And, one thing we've always put out there is that, we definitely would like to own the land, but we don't need to own a ton of land. I'm okay with 3 acres and access to pasture. Well, that's what we have here, basically. I have access to pasture as long as we have an agreement with, the family, so, for people that don't know, we have about 80 acres that's around us, and it's owned by pretty much one family. So they have lots of opportunities for us to do farming on their property. Yeah. So
and
that's
that
opportunities.
And the work that you're doing and the people that you're meeting and the systems that you're trying to encourage other people consider, the conversations that you're starting, the work that you're putting into it.
Yes, mostly food production and food sovereignty, because that is so important, because we all eat 3 times a day, and it's also a huge point of control. If someone is the only way you're going to eat, that's a lot of control on you. And like, most people only buy their food from the grocery store or, Dollar General or whatever. How many people actually grow a bulk of their food? And it's like very, very little. Even farmers don't really, like most farmers are like big commodity farmers, or, they don't really they don't have like a little garden or whatever, they have like a massive, setup. And there's points where some of that stuff makes sense. And there's points where like regenerative agriculture makes way more sense, especially when you start talking about building systems at a community scale. What is a what does a system look like that feeds 150 people? What does that system look like? And I would love to sit down with people and have that discussion, because right now, just our little neighborhood is a 3-mile loop, and we have X amount of homes that live in that loop. And if we had to, could we grow all of our own food? Well, of course we could. We're only talking, we're not talking that many people. We're not talking about growing food for 10,000 people. There's definitely room for enough cattle here. There's enough room for horses. All kinds of farming opportunities could be done right here locally. So that's the whole concept of, we're thinking about the global, but ideally, if everything shits the bed and the supply chain disruption stops everything where you can't even drive anymore, what's your world going to look like? And mine's a 3-mile loop with all these people that are potentially my best friends. They're my neighbors. They're a network. They're people. You know, they lived here before. They're going to continue to live here.
By working locally,
That's my
you
small
are
community.
thinking globally.
Yeah.
Is the thing. It's not if you are developing those systems to work locally, and essentially it will work globally. Like, you're not responsible for global success or global growth or global.
But products that I buy and use are set up to benefit a global system, not a local system. So every single system that's currently established now supports the enemy of the people, which is this giant system that's set up that only rewards very few people any significant amount of money. And that's the way.
Yeah.
That whole financial system set up that way with the central banks. What an absolute scam that is. That, you know, like they're all controlled by the same families. The only countries in the world that don't have central controlled banks are Iran and North Korea. Oh, you mean the enemies of the United States? Like, you know, so there's all sorts of stuff that is deemed conspiracy, but it's like, no, you know, look at the banks, look how they operate, look how they generate money, how they make money. And then realize if you had an entity, a community-based bank or a community-based credit union, what does that look like for mortgages? You know, what does that look like when you want to buy a new piece of property, you want to develop a regenerative farm? How does that work? Financially, how does that work? You know, well, if you have to deal with the USDA and all sorts of different organizations, it's not going to work. But if it's just it's just your local community, the sky's the limit. Why do we even need to get a bank involved?
Yeah.
The land's already there. Let's farm it.
That's what I'm saying. There's this system that's in place that I'm trying to bring it all back. Let me ask you a question. The systems that you're trying to develop, the land and the farming and creating food and creating these resources
Heals
for people,
the earth and creates food in the process, yeah.
like you're talking the too many hands in the cookie jar. Yeah, you're talking about a system of banks and the international finances.
Yeah, start local with local tokens or local economies. Even like our neighborhood should also start its own local coin of some kind of token that we can use ourselves. So in case outside inflation gets so bad, you know, like hyperinflation, where it's like it's $10,000 for a loaf of bread, your local neighbors, when you're trading, you wouldn't even trade in dollars at that point anymore. You would either barter goods, which, you know, obviously that's an option. But if we had our own currency, it'd be like, no, you know what I mean? Beets were 4 for $1 yesterday. They're going to be 4 for $1 tomorrow too, because we control our currency. When you don't control your currency, and the world market controls it, or it's based off of some fictitious thing like the value of gold, you know, you know,
the structures and the objects that we value and we put our value in. That's what I'm saying.
Bitcoin is $20,000 a coin now. Who would have thought it would have gotten that low? But I mean, there's just so many things where none of that shit matters if you don't have the skills to keep yourself alive. If you can't depend on a skyscraper or an RV or a house to keep you alive, what skills do you have to keep yourself?
And those important things that you're talking about.
Because everything can change.
Moving from a world based off of those constructs and those objects and those materials,
systems, those elements
that they put the value in and the priority in. You're talking about something that's closer to home and like is able to work on a local level, and more people can adopt that, so that if that system works and it scales for multiple communities and multiple parts of the world, it's that's why I'm saying you're figuring out the local system to work. And if other people adopt that, then that is global.
Yeah.
And not a huge system that focuses on gold and focuses on trade and focuses on basically benefiting this upper level of people, this distant.
It's elimination of a lot of different systems too, because I mean, if you had a local system like in your neighborhood or whatever, and you guys produced, I don't know, 75% of everything you guys needed, how much control do you think the county or the state would have on you? You know, if you produced most of the things you needed, it'd be like, oh, really? What are you going to do to us? You're gonna stop the supply chain, or you know what I mean? Like nothing comes in now, anyways. Everything we're doing is produced locally. You know.
And then looking more simply, like I do agree with what you're saying. Looking more simply, why are you doing that? you're doing that to keep your community alive. You're looking for the benefit, why do you care so much about your home?
Because they're going to be the only ones that I'm going to be able to turn to in a time of need. If things get really bad, is the people that are around you. Your neighbors.
And it's
literally
more than,
your neighbors.
It's more than just survival. It's you care about yourself. You care about your wife and your kids, your family. You care about the people that are there because, like Tom said, it's the something to do all that for. You can put a value.
It's a continuation
in
of the human race.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is. And if you gave me that opportunity to
but
hop
not
on
simply
that
for survival.
to asteroid colony, I'd hop on that too. I'd jump right ahead.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Nicole says that survival. Yeah, but it's more than survival. You don't want to simply survive.
No. I want my children's life to be fruitful.
Yeah, for something to look forward to, something to attain beyond that.
And it's also really important why I'm trying to instill certain skills in my own children that I value higher than other things. That's why the Scouts was so important, that I wanted Abby to have a taste of what Scouts was like, because they teach you so many useful things that you could think of in an apocalyptic setting. Everything that they teach you how to do in Scouts is basically how to survive a zombie apocalypse, how to build shelter, how to get food, how to cook over a fire. It's just training you for that. Right. And then
at the same time that you're encouraging skills to your kids, you're also trying to instill virtues in your kids.
Yes. Much more simplistic. Yeah, absolutely. Especially when it comes to the medicine and stuff like that. I want to grow, as many medicines as I can on my property, so that when you do get sick, you're not dependent on a giant multinational, corrupt pharmaceutical industry that just, convinced millions of people to take an experimental vaccine. Because why? Because if you don't, you'll lose your job. What? You're kidding me. Like how fast that happened, that people were put in that position. And now we're 2 years later after this, and we're all just kind of looking at each other like, what did we, what?
Yeah.
And now it's monkeypox. Like what? And then I look at people now, they're wearing masks in public, and I'm wondering so what is it? Is it still COVID? Is there a new thing that you're wearing for? I understand, you're sick or whatever, or you go to the doctor's office, they want you to wear it. Okay, I get it. But now when I'm just seeing people out and about, I'm curious, there isn't enough proof for you that it's not you don't need to do that anymore. It's not, but they probably hold an attachment to it. It's an anxiety thing, or it's having a pillow, that they can hold on to, that it reminds them of comfortable times. When they could smell their breath a lot.
Security is what you're talking about.
Yeah, I guess, but there's so many people that have been damaged by this too, psychologically. They can't, they can't handle the fact that they might have to go back to the office, or, that was a kind of a paradigm shift as well. The fact that millions of people no longer actually had to go into the office. They could just work from home. And it was how long was this possible, you fucking assholes? How many resources get spent just because I want to be able to dictate what office you do that work out of? It shouldn't, it should be the office that requires the least amount, which is what local is all about.
It feels like to me that
spending resources you don't need.
Mm-hmm. It feels like to me that is the thing, that this has become a world, a civilization, a society where humanity is basically now working off of fear and the need to protect ourselves and to survive. It's become more about that, the base, the survival instinct, the animal instinct of.
But most people aren't thinking that way, though. You're talking about 0.00% of the population is oh yeah, I prep a little bit, or I thought about homesteading or whatever. Most people are just illfully prepared, and they just, they're just swimming. They're keeping their head above water. They watch
because
Friends
they don't have
reruns.
those discussions because they don't. Yeah, because that's not a world that they live in where that's an issue to them.
The system made them that way, Matt.
That's what I'm saying.
The system created the schools, they created the jobs, they own the companies.
That's what I'm saying.
The company,
I agree.
The system literally is a rat race, and as we're going through it, we all play our little role in what society has deemed normal. Our society, when none of this shit really makes sense if you try to think about it logically. It's that all these these systems were set up to make a very small group of people really, really rich. Now, those happen to be like the owners of the companies and whatnot, and that's fair too. You should be able to profit when you have a really good business idea. The state shouldn't just come in and be like, oh, that's illegal, and shoot you. You know, like who agreed to that? You know what I mean? And now we're living in this time where you have these organizations called countries. You know, we can't even agree to how many there actually are. But like, what's that going to look like in the future when people are going to be able to invest in technology that allows them to homestead in outer space? You know, what do those countries look like, or what do those communities look like? Is it a country of 150 people and you have your own passport? You know, what does that look like?
Mm-hmm. My take on this, and Tom says your wife agrees with you, by the way, so that's fantastic. My take on this entire conversation tonight is to love what you do, make your own mark in life, do it with the love you have for others and yourself. Ultimately, that's what keeps the world going. That's what I'm saying. Like, to prepare for the future, you need to have a safe, it's good to think about
the future. Is that what you said?
No.
Oh, okay.
I changed mid-sentence.
Oh, okay.
You're talking about doing something now to make things good now.
I'm saying you need to practice on things now so that later you're much better at it.
That's where I'm going.
Okay.
I wasn't finished. You need to start now and figure out a system now to start changing things now and making things better now. To prepare for the future, certainly. Because that's one of your goals, is to not only be safe for yourself, but for your family. And like you said, to create systems that can replace current systems that are antiquated, that are not working. It's a world where the people are living in fear.
I'm not the one that is benefiting from those systems. I'm benefiting in the sense that, like, I'm able to go to Walmart and Sam's Club and buy a bulk of my groceries. Like, I'm benefiting from that. I definitely am. But if there was a farmer down the road, or there was, somebody producing a product right down the street from me, I would much rather buy that product from them directly than have them sell to the grocery store and then the grocery store resell to me. What exactly did the grocery store do other than provided space for a product?
Right.
Well, that's just it. I mean, it provided space for a product. But why can't that be a community store? Why does it have to be a for-profit venture owned by Walmart, making the fucking Waltons more billions of dollars? Why can't it just be a local grocery store owned by Billy Bob down the street,
right.
Or be collectively owned by everybody in the neighborhood? That's another thing that, like, isn't talked about. You can collectively own shit. We can collectively own the 1,000 acres the community's on, or whatever. We can lease cars together. We can do all sorts of cool stuff. Once people get over this weird stigma about anytime you start talking about groups or societies or the public, they're like, oh, it's like socialism. And we're like, well, I mean, like, we're not forcing anybody to do anything. You know what I mean? Like, you can't
finding
say
a better way.
Labor is free because someone has to pay for it, but
different isn't wrong. Finding a means, a different means than the current means to help humanity.
I don't think
thrive
Nicole
is
says
not wrong.
Everyone must participate. I don't think everyone has to participate. I think, but when you have an organization or a group, and it's a voluntary organization, I mean, you don't need to belong to the group. You only belong if you want to belong. Once you stop participating, you're done. I mean, that has to be, like, we have to normalize that conversation as well, that just because you're an American citizen, like what did you do to get that? You know what I mean? Some people did a lot to get their American citizenship. You were born into it. You just popped out of your mom. You know what I mean? Like, you did no work to become an American, right? But people have these famous stories where they studied for 7 years to take the test and, migrated here and paid all the money. And you know what I mean? Like, that person knows way more about becoming an American than us, because they actually became an American. We were born it. But who gives a shit? In the grand scheme of things, there's 8 billion people on this planet, and I'm American. I lucked out. I mean, I didn't have any choice in that. And I just have so much better life than somebody who was born in Nairobi and who's Muslim or black or whatever. I mean, we all lucked out, right? Because we were born humans. Fuck, we could have been born ants, and then would we be even having this conversation?
But that's where virtue comes in. Why you do what you do and why to change things the way things are going to benefit more people. Why do that? And that's where
to make a better life.
Because you care about yourself. You should care about yourself care about your family,
Mm-hmm.
and care about the community that you're in, and care about strangers, to be perfectly honest, because that's what I
Strangers
took
are just friends you haven't met yet.
yeah, look, when Nicole said
Especially
everybody
when they have candy.
when Nicole said everybody must participate in chat, that's where my brain was at. Is like, you be a part of humanity, be a part of, you could do something to help you, and that's fine, but why not do something that can help you, but also help others?
Yeah.
And to look, that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. Like, you don't have to watch the news and donate to charity and care so much and know everything about everything that's going on in the world in order to do your part to help humanity. And in fact, that's some of the problem that I think some people have, is that they're so focused at what's going on over the fence or across the pond on the other parts of the world, and there's so many people that will
Their attention's diverted to different topics, so they can't tell what's going on.
the fact that they're looking at so many other things.
That's happening. So if I just cut all that stuff out, I should technically be able to figure out more things and be able to pay attention to things that matter, which is building community with 3231 and doing more awesome Nomad radio shows with Matt and Ben every Wednesday and Saturday night.
There is a way to use, just like you said, the resources that are available to you in a better way. So whether that's the internet, social media in general, all that stuff. There's a way to use that that some people are not utilizing. Enough people are not utilizing. They're using it as a platform to bitch and complain, basically, and not to have a fight, or not even have a fight. Like, we're having a discussion. You and I are talking, and the people in the chat are listening to us. People on TikTok are listening to us. People have access to this within the community, that their voice can be heard, and we can have a discussion. There are some people that aren't using the ability to communicate. They're using it to vomit their opinions and their thoughts, and it's not about love. It's about fear. It's about promoting fear. It's about promoting those pieces of gold and those pieces of paper, and promoting their racket, their hustle. They're promoting them, and that's where I would agree where Nicole's like, people are selfish. Like, there are a lot of people that are just focused on there is a problem, not necessarily focusing like you and I on solutions to the problem. And that's where the idea of virtue comes in, because you can be interested in survival. You could be interested in the human race continuing. But that's not where the discussion ends. It's why. It's for what purpose are you concerned for the human race continuing?
Well, I could give a shit about the human race as a whole, but I care a lot more, and I love, my family and the people that I surround it with.
Sure.
Because those are the people that are telling me that they're worth a shit, not some faceless person I've never met nor will ever meet. So as long as I'm providing for everyone around me, my family included, hey, we're doing good, and we'll keep doing better, and we'll keep trying to show people a better way, and drawing focus and awareness on different things that are not, like, the system doesn't want you to talk about, doesn't want you to think about where your food comes from, how many thousands of miles away that pork came from. Like, it doesn't need to be from there. It can be from the guy down the road. It can be from another county, and building up those networks of supplies and demands, the skills, like, that's all stuff that I'm going to be battling in the near future with future business classes, and trying to get our groups a little bit more organized. And 3231 is along for the ride with Nomad Radio and all the other awesome shows that we're going to be putting out in the future. So
but
I
even
really
though
look forward to it.
Even though you don't work for humanity, you're interested in creating
Who else
systems
am I not working for? Yeah.
Well, you're interested in creating systems, and you're interested in changing the world with the virtues and the systems that you're worried about your family, and you're worried about your community. Like you said, you got that fixed number of the people that you're actually going to be involved with. But the things that you're doing are things that will help humanity. You don't have to work to help everybody in the world, but you're working to build the things that will help everybody in the world.
For sure.
So that's the idea of love.
Until
is
we
what
can
I'm
get
talking
that,
about.
we can get that low Earth orbit launch vehicle set up with 100 or so tickets on the Starship. Yeah.
But what can you do
Work on that.
immediately? And that's care about people, and that's care about the type of living that people that like I said the status
the
quo.
more control people can gain of their lives, the better. And that includes, paying off debt and, getting out of all these different systems. Social media is kind of one of those double-edged swords. I use it. If you said to me tomorrow, Ben, you can run everything you want to run off of social media and those ventures will be positive, I would do it in a minute, and I would get off social media and never go back if I could run those other organizations successfully. But I don't know if I can. I mean, I really do think that, being hooked to Facebook is the reason why our success is the way it is at this level.
Your time is limited, your energy is limited, your passion is limited.
But how big do you need to be? You know what I mean? Like when we do events,
Well, big doesn't matter because
like 3231 has never done an in-person real event, but we've done thousands of online ones.
and we certainly can
hundreds.
do live events.
We can, sure. Let's do it.
But
Let's tell everybody right now what we're going to do.
well,
Wait, okay. That's going to take a little bit of
it's all
planning.
it's planning. It's a work in progress.
And if we do anything, we'll do something when it's a little bit cooler out, like October.
And we can talk about building skyscrapers, but if we don't know how to build a proper
Jets and
foundation,
cities.
whatever structure we build is not going to work anyways because our foundation isn't solid. So that's the thing that I'm concerned about is a solid foundation.
Sure.
And that's why I've been talking about love so much is because that applies.
Love is a perfect foundation.
That
for sure.
love is a perfect foundation. Yeah, it like that. That's going back to what I said at the beginning. Someone called it the critical adhesive, and I absolutely love that phrase. I would love to do a meetup. I would love to meet people in person. I would love to put on live shows.
What we can do is we can find a small campground that will allow us to get like a section, like 4 or 5 different campsites, and just reserve that. And then whoever shows up. But obviously, we want everybody to prepay. That's kind of an important thing too because we don't have a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we could definitely set that up. And I know there's going to be enough people that are close by. There's a bunch of people that are 5-6 hours away that if we do it a couple of months in advance, we'll gladly come, especially when it's nice out.
And that's one of the things that we're doing to grow that and grow my confidence in that is the fact that we're doing the content and we want people to share. We want people to join the live chat. We want people to subscribe and hit the like button and all that stuff because
We wouldn't like that. We'd love that.
we would. That's a good one. Good one. Where is it? Oh, no, that's it. No, right there. Hold on a second. Where is it? Where are you? Cool little thing I did. Here we go. Booyah! Right there. Like and subscribe and get notified. We want people to to connect with us. We want to build the people in chat. We want people to share the broadcast with others so that we get more people on, so that we know that there are people that want to meet us. We having 5 or 6 people join us and say we should do a meetup is fantastic. I would love 50 or 60 people or 20 to 30 people. I would love more people to join our chat and be a part of the conversation, and buy the shirts and just you don't have to pay a dime if you don't want to. Just show up and be a part of our lives, be a part of our broadcast. That's why I say Wednesdays at 7 p.m.
We almost made it to 9. Look at that.
We did. We made it to 9.
Wasn't a short show.
No.
We
did all right. And I'm probably going to pay for it in the morning, but I don't care. Because I'm going to be so jazzed.
We can end.
I'm not going to go to sleep until midnight.
This paper airplane can land.
But yeah, I do want to do meetups. I do want to put in that work, but I want to put in that work when we've established the content that we have is receiving people, that we're getting the numbers up, that we know that, okay, we reach a certain level of success, or whatever you call it. We've reached a certain level of interaction that I feel confident enough that, yes, let's go and organize a show to do here or travel to this place to do that. It needs to be
a live show, buddy, at a place where people can show up at. That's the benchmark.
Sure. And in order to reach that, we have to know that what we have is solid.
Because there's a local podcast, I'm not going to say their name, that's what they do, and we have so many more reviews than them. It's so funny. Yeah, but it's fine.
No, sounds
They're a
great.
they're a new podcast too, But like I don't think we get a lot of views, but then I saw how many they got. I'm like, oh wow. So all right, we're doing good, guys. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
watching.
And you guys stick around and you're a part of the conversation throughout the couple hours that we do that. That's fantastic. And I love the fact when I go on TikTok that people come in and hang out with me for a few minutes and actually talk to me rather than just say some troll line and then go and then then leave. Like they're on to crack their joke for their own.
They're working on their
benefit.
material.
Yeah, they're working on their material, but
Yeah.
they're not being a part of the conversation. I want to get through those people and get to the people like y'all that actually watch the show, that actually communicate with me and with us. You get and we're going to wrap this up right here. Please be a part of the community and stay a part of the community. And
if you want to be
spread the word, spread the love.
You want to get on board with 3231 and actually help us out a little bit. We might have some opportunities for people that would like to join our team, whether it's making content or writing or photography. There's any kind of skill that you might have that we might be able to help with 3231. We would very much appreciate that.
Doing this broadcast, sitting across from my good friend here, from my brother, and talking about these conversations is fantastic. But but like we've just said before, it has to be worth something. Us just talking by itself, entertaining as hell. I enjoy it. But we have to have more than that. It has to be worth something. It has to be people there that this is connecting to, people that are watching this, people that are getting involved with the conversation.
Tom's in.
That is an alarm to take my medication. So thank you guys for hanging in there. And like I said, spread the word and let's get more people back. We were at a point where I had like 1,000 people that were, or the hundreds of people watching me on Periscope, and maybe we'll never reach those levels again where we have hundreds of people watching. But I've had moments where I've had like 30 or 40 people watching on TikTok, and maybe so at some point we could get 30 or 40 people watching live.
And
on
if
YouTube.
I was on it, I mean, me and you on TikTok, I mean, that's a lot of man right there. You, Ben and Matt on TikTok.
We could make it work.
We could. We got to get clips of the show
And then
on
guess.
the TikTok.
And then the addition of
we're trying to work on that. That's number one priority. I told Matt, I let him have it. I said we need to get that fixed because we need to have Jamie be the co-host because there's going to be a whole bunch of shows that I'm not going to be able to be here, and maybe Jamie's a possibility, or even getting Tuck in here as a co-host.
Mm.
So yeah, and guests, lots of guests. Man, I had all sorts of people lined up, but it just didn't work out. Foundation wasn't there.
But it will happen.
Yes.
Like we're confident that it will happen.
None of
It's
those
just a
people
matter
have
of time.
died yet. We can get them all back, rebooked, rescheduled. All right, everybody.
So we're going to wrap this up. Thank you very much for watching, you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you for your support. And I encourage you to as always, follow me if you haven't followed me yet. Share the broadcast with your friends. And most importantly, get onto social media. You can go to 323.1, and that'll take you to my socials. And if there's any socials on there that you have that I don't, let me know. But there's plenty of ways for you to communicate with us, for you to communicate with me. And like I said, put $1 in the tip jar if you feel like it. You can, like I said, join onto our socials, share that with your friends. If you
Ben's going to do an OnlyFans soon.
Nicole, you need to talk to the boss about that.
Yeah, right. Should be like, oh, good, he gets his own money.
Yeah, he's finally going to do something to bring some income.
Yeah.
But yeah, like and follow, and please share the broadcast. And if you don't want to spend a dime on me, that's fine. If you don't want to buy a T-shirt, that's fine. Take a little bit of your time because time is money. We've established that your time and your effort is worth your man hours is worth as much as money. But yeah, go to that. Go to socials, share, and spread the word, spread the love. We do appreciate it. But that's going to be it for us tonight. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Next show, Saturday, 7 p.m. on Facebook. Continuing the conversation, as always, not just on love, but on a bunch of other topics as well.
I'm sure we'll talk about community a little bit.
But yeah, we thank you so much for hanging out with us. Have a great night, everybody, and we will see you next time. Love you, bye.